Habri Gani, happy Kwanzaa, and welcome to day 2, Kujichagulia, self-determination. To define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. And don't worry, this bag is not going to catch on fire. So when I wrote Kwanzaa, the Village It Takes, I wanted each character to represent the principles, and I wanted the story to follow what it looks like for each character to become the better version of that principle. So the character Nicole in the show, she starts off shy, timid, lacking courage, and then by the end of the show, she grows to be this very self-determined person. And I think for a lot of us, especially those of us like myself, you're just turning 30, adulthood really is hitting you for real now. I think for a lot of us, that can be our story where we start off one way and we start off believing one thing about ourselves, about our capabilities, about our value, our worth. And then as time progresses and as things happen, we get to be shown what we're made of. So to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and to speak for ourselves. So for this one, I'm getting a little personal. We're talking about self-determination. Eventually, as my little, I don't know, my little platform, my little podcast grows, I want to do like a full, like, I don't know, series or something that just kind of sharing about my testimony, because it's interesting. God is really good to me. But for this video, we're gonna stick to some of the things that really pertain to this principle. So to define ourselves, growing up, I'm coming out of this, but I feel like in my life I've been defined by a lot of the negative circumstances and a lot of the negative experiences that I've had, and not just those experiences themselves, but like what those experiences have taught me. So like for a long time, I identified with like social anxiety. I identified with being a people pleaser. I identified with, various things in that sort of realm of self, my self concept. What defined me were those things for a long time. And I'm in this season where God is really like, he's really like pulling at my freaking soul, like get back into the art, create again, sing again, make music again. I'm shifting from being defined by the negative things, and just like my own self concept, how my own self outlook. I'm shifting from defining myself based off of those negative things and finding new definition in the more positive things, and like trying to live that out. Like, so hence my podcast mic that I got for Christmas. Shout out to my husband for granting my wishes. And yeah, just a bunch of things that'll be coming in the future in regards to this whole art thing. And this new definition for myself, especially now that I'm 30. It's been interesting. So to define ourselves, to name ourselves, the African American community is constantly being labeled. We're constantly being told who we are, who we can't be, what we can't be. And it's as if we don't name ourselves boldly, unapologetically, on purpose, and in their face, they're going to do it for us. I don't understand this idea, be it racism, be it implicit bias or whatever, but in this realm of self-determination, we have to be bold enough to name ourselves. Otherwise, the descendants of our oppressors will try to do it for us. I'll even make this part personal. To name ourselves, I I love the Lord. I love Jesus. I gave my life to him as a child, and then I rededicated my life to him as an adult a couple years ago. And I name myself a child of God. I name myself one of his. My my name is Jessica, but and it's interesting that name means it's like a Hebrew name. I'm gonna look it up to make sure I'm not giving y'all false information. But my parents had this baby name book, and in that book, the name Jessica means God beholds. I think that was the definition that was in that book. But I name myself a child of God, and whoever God says I am, that's the identity that I accept for myself. To the very best of my ability, anyone who's a believer knows that living for God is really difficult sometimes. So I allow Him to name me and to claim me. So to define ourselves, to name ourselves, to create for ourselves. I think the African American community, our creativity is really incredible. And the ability to create for ourselves, create our own narratives, create our own stories, create our own is a superpower. And I think that superpower, they've been trying to strip us of that for so long, but they obviously haven't been able to. And so, when I think of to create for ourselves, right? For the African American community, as we're celebrating Kwanzaa and talking about Kujichagulia self determination, I don't think any other race has faced opposition in terms of creating for themselves as we have, right? You can think of Tulsa, Oklahoma, very famous example, but there's so many other examples just like that where we are creating for ourselves, and then here comes an oppressor watching us become more than what they defined us to be. And here they go, trying to force and project their definition of us on us, disallowing us to create for ourselves when we intentionally create for ourselves, even in the face of opposition, even when we learn of the stories of our forefathers and of our ancestors who had to go through like oppression and slavery, we still as a people have maintained creativity and the ability to create for ourselves, to define ourselves, to name ourselves, create for ourselves, and to speak for ourselves. If you know me well, you know that public speaking and getting in front of people, and just like I have social anxiety, okay? And in this season of my faith journey, God has been trying to get me to speak. Every single last one of us deserves an opportunity to represent ourselves, speak for ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, right? So that way, this body and this character and this person that God blessed us with can be put out there properly. I think if we're not careful, the world will try to speak for us. The world will try to tell us who we are. The world will try to tell society and civilization who we are. And we, have to just put our voices out there, put ourselves out there and be like, wait a second. This is who I am because I said so. And you can either take it or leave it, but you don't get to define me. I get to define me. And so on Facebook, I'll be doing this all week, posting a post in the morning, and then you'll hear from me in the evening. And so for today's post, in my caption, I have the phrase, disrupt the discouragement. And so over the summer, we hosted Drumming for Peace, a week-long music camp that we do for the community, for the kids here in the community. The week follows a daily theme, all leading up to like from the individual to the nation. And this is inspired by Freedom Schools. I can make a difference in myself, and then it leads up to like can make a difference in the world. And so for freedom schools, I mean, for drumming for peace on day one, the theme was peace within myself. And for our craft, which I'll probably try to insert a picture of it to show you what it is. But for the craft, it was a flower, and they had a circle in the middle to have their name, and then they had petals all around the circle. And on the petals, they were to write different attributes or different characteristics about themselves. And this was so that whenever they found themselves in a situation where their self determination is under attack, or their self concept, their self esteem is under attack, they can look at this craft, look at this project, and be reminded who they are, right? Where in in a situation with people who are misunderstanding you, you're this and you're that, but you could remind yourself that you aren't those things that they say you are. You're the beautiful things that you say you are, and most importantly, you're the beautiful things that God says you are. So disrupt the discouragement. Kujichagulia day 2, and I will see you tomorrow for day 3.